Okay, today we are diving into something that sounds like it was ripped straight out of a sci-fi movie. We're talking about liquid armor, a fluid that can literally stop a bullet in its tracks. I know, it sounds completely impossible, but the science behind it is very, very real. And it's on the verge of changing everything we thought we knew about personal protection. So let's get into it. So, right off the bat, here's the billion-dollar question. How can a liquid, something you can pour, stop a projectile that's screaming through the air at thousands of feet per second? I mean, it just feels like it breaks all the rules of physics, right? Well, to really get a handle on this incredible solution, we first have to understand the problem it's trying to solve. And that problem is what you could call the armor paradox. For as long as we've had armor, we've had a fundamental trade-off. To be safe, you had to be slow. Protection came at a cost. I mean, just think about it. Go all the way back to ancient Greek hoplites with their heavy bronze shields and armor. Or fast forward to a modern soldier wearing heavy ceramic plates. The basic deal has always been the same. If you want more protection, you have to carry more weight and give up your mobility. It's always been a necessary burden, but a burden all the same. And if we break it down, even modern armor, like Kevlar, has some serious limitations. First up, it's rigid. Those layers you need to stop a bullet make the vest super stiff, which makes it hard to move around freely. Second, there's blunt force trauma. So even if the bullet doesn't get through, the sheer energy of that impact can still break your ribs. Ouch. And finally, of course, the weight. A full armor system can weigh over 15 kilograms. Carrying that around just drains your energy. So how do you get around this age-old paradox? Well, you do it with a liquid shield. This is a technology that just completely rewrites the rulebook. It uses a fluid that's totally flexible when you're just moving around, but the instant it's hit, it becomes rock hard. It's all about bending, or maybe breaking, the laws of fluid dynamics. Okay, for this to make sense, we need a super quick science lesson. Most liquids you know, like water, are what we call Newtonian. Their viscosity, which is just a fancy word for their resistance to flow, never changes. You can stir water slowly or really fast, it's still just water. But liquid armor is a non-Newtonian fluid. A common example is oobleck, that cornstarch and water mix. If you hit it, it gets hard. Liquid armor does the same thing, but on a whole other level. The specific name for this stuff is a shear-thickening fluid, or STF. And what that means is when you hit it with a high-energy force, say from a bullet, its viscosity goes through the roof in just a fraction of a second. That soft, flowing liquid turns into a temporary solid. It really is just like that oobleck science experiment, but engineered with incredible precision. So what is actually going on at a microscopic level in that tiny instant of impact? How does a liquid just decide to become solid? Let's take a look under the hood. The scientific magic behind this is explained by something called the hydrocluster theory. And this theory is the key to everything. It's the secret sauce that makes this instantaneous transformation possible. Okay, so here's how it works. Step 1, when the fluid is just sitting there, at rest, you have these tiny particles just floating around, easily sliding past one another. Then, bam, step 2, impact. The massive force from the bullet instantly squeezes the liquid out from between those particles. This leads to step 3, the lockup. With no liquid to lubricate them, the particles jam together into what are called hydroclusters. It's basically a microscopic logjam that forms a solid, rigid barrier. And then, just as quickly, once that energy is spread out and gone, we get to step 4. The particles spread back out, and it's a liquid again. All of this happens in microseconds. Now, obviously, you can't just throw any old particles into any liquid and expect this to work. Getting this amazing effect requires some really precise chemistry. It's all about finding the absolute perfect recipe. So there are 2 main ingredients in this recipe. The solid particles are tiny, nano-sized spheres of silica, which is pretty much microscopic glass. They're made to be perfectly round so they can flow smoothly and then lock together in a really predictable way. The liquid they're floating in is polyethylene glycol, or PEG. It's used because, unlike water, it has a very stable viscosity and doesn't freeze or evaporate easily, which makes the armor work in any environment. And the level of precision we're talking about here is just mind-blowing. These silica particles are between 100 and 500 nanometers wide. Now, to put that in perspective, a single human hair is about 100,000 nanometers thick, so these are incredibly small. And that exact size is absolutely critical to make sure the fluid hardens at exactly the right moment, that trigger point. But it's not just the ingredients, it's the ratio that matters. This is called the critical volume fraction. See, if you have too much liquid, the particles are too far apart and they never jam together. If you have too much silica, it's not a liquid anymore, it's just a thick paste.
The magic ratio seems to be right around 55% silica to 45% PEG. That precise mix keeps the fluid perfectly balanced, right on the knife's edge of that liquid to solid transformation.
Now, this is where it gets really, really exciting. Because while this liquid armor was born for military research, its potential applications go way beyond the battlefield. Let's look at how this stuff could start showing up in our everyday lives. First up, let's talk sports. Imagine lining an NFL helmet with a shear-thickening fluid. Most of the time, it would stay soft and comfortable, but on a hard impact, it would instantly harden and absorb that dangerous rotational energy that's a huge cause of concussions. This could be a total game changer for athlete safety. Or how about in medicine? For an elderly person, breaking a hip during a fall can be a life-altering event. But what if they were wearing smart hip protectors made with this fluid? They'd be soft, flexible, and you wouldn't even notice them until a fall. Then they'd instantly become a rigid shield, preventing a devastating injury. And it doesn't even stop on Earth. This tech has incredible applications in space. Astronauts and satellites are under constant threat from tiny little micrometeoroids moving at incredible speeds. A thin, flexible layer of STF built into a spacesuit or a satellite skin could offer an amazing, lightweight shield against those kinds of impacts. So, from the battlefield to the football field and even to outer space, liquid armor is on track to completely redefine what protection means. It shatters that old paradox that said to be safe, you had to be slow and heavy, which really just leaves us with one last fascinating question to think about. With technology like this on the horizon, how long will it be until the rigid, heavy armor plate is just a relic of the past?